Honorable Ministers on Nair, distinguished guests, participants here. Uh, Firstly, I actually relinquished the appointment with the National Cyber Coordinator a couple of months back. So I'm on a freelancer now. I heard, I think the previous speaker mentioning about age. I think I'm probably the oldest here today, having retired from armed forces after spending 40 years last year. And now I'm on touching 61. I don't think there's anybody who's ever to be in this particular part. I was taking the appointment of the National Cyber Coordinator, having served in the Army as I said for 40 years. When I joined the armed forces way back in 1984, I traveled all across the country, and today, there has been a remarkable transformation in infrastructure in terms of roads. There has been a massive, even more transformation in the digital highways. And that's actually what is touching our human lives. Each of you here, you're all the administrators and in the future who will govern the country. And I think there is a connect between you who are going to be the managing the administrative setup, the digital highways, and I'm extremely grateful to the organizers here for giving me an opportunity. I had been called last year too, but somehow I could actually manage. I just want a few key issues which I just thought I will throw into each one of you here. Look at our ecosystem here. We have today more than 1.3 billion devices. I don't think anybody here is without a smartphone today. And look at each one of your homes. There are at least 4 minimum, because you have your families there, your children, all of them are carrying smartphones. And you have smart devices which are there in your house. So you look at the ecosystem of devices itself, you realize that there are 1.3 devices, a billion devices. You have networks which are connecting all those devices. You have applications. Now, I'm not sure whether you have visibility to all the applications which are there in your devices today. I heard mention of iOS and Android. They are the operating systems which are there. In your offices, you use Windows or multiple platforms, Linux platforms which are there. Now, how do we protect this entire digital ecosystem of ours? Now, where does the data which is generated in our country reside? Are we aware as citizens, as administrators, are you all aware that any of the applications which are hosted by the government today, where does the data reside? Does it reside in the private player? It could be hosting the data outside, or it could be in the governmental data centers. And to my surprise, I found that even the governmental data centers had outsourced it to some players. So the entire digital ecosystem is a major challenge. And rightly so, because we went into an era of COVID where we had to reach every household. We had education reaching the houses, the common man, through the digital highways. And there were certain small little security issues we probably overlooked at that point of time. We have no control over the supply chain ecosystem. And you just have a look at the Wi-Fi routers which are there in your houses today. You'll realize that over 90% of the Wi-Fi routers which we use today are coming from sources not from countries or maybe from a country of concern. Now, so if we have a large ecosystem like this, how do we secure this entire digital landscape? And this was one of the tasks for the National Cybersecurity Coordinator. Where I coordinate between various ministries. The cybersecurity was not forming part of allocation of rules of business for a long time. Though the meeting had its responsibility insofar as cybersecurity is concerned. But who's responsible for allocation? Cybersecurity per se. So even last year in September, the government actually came out with a notification which said that the way we look after cybersecurity insofar as information technology laws are concerned. I'm sure we are all aware of the Cybersecurity Act of 2013. The IT laws, all of them are responsibility. Now, who manages the devices? Who manages the networks now? So the security of the networks is the responsibility of the DoD, of the Department of Telecommunications. Now, what role will the MHA have? Now, all of you here are aware of the magnitude of challenge we have on cybercrime. It touches every human life today. So the MHA has got responsibility for ensuring cybersecurity aspects insofar as the law and order issues are concerned. And the overall coordination and the responsibility for strategic uh, directions on cybersecurity listed with the National Security Council Secretary. And we had the National Cybersecurity Coordinator, which still has. And we are looking at this entire ecosystem, right from supply chain, that is the devices, to applications, to networks, to the data storage, etc. So this is the magnitude of the problem. Now, all of you do financial transactions. I guess I was sitting here and I'm looking at it now. We have more than 625 million transactions carried out through our UPI platform every day. And nearly 85,000 crores is the normal volume or value of transactions which are taking place. No other country in the world has this kind of digital transactions. I'm sure you will have heard the Honorable Prime Minister mentioning that today, over 50% of the digital transactions in the world are done in our country. And I think it should be something which we should be proud of as Indians. The 5G rollout which has taken place from the DOT has actually reached 99% of our districts. I'm sure it has reached many of your districts also. But let me put it across that the reach, especially in the remote areas, is not perfect, but the endeavor is on. So we have made 4.75 lakh BTS, 5G BTS towers from October 22 when the endeavor started. So the digital transformation has been, I think, something which has been so tremendous, and every citizen of our country should be actually proud of it. Now, all of us are aware of the cybersecurity challenges which I mentioned about. It affects the citizens. But there is one aspect which many of us probably don't understand, and that's the impact on national security. Now, every aspect of comprehensive national power, be it finances, be it science and technology, be it health, every transportation, smart cities, every aspect of the comprehensive national power is actually connected to the digital, the cyber ecosystem. So, if there is any small little vulnerability in any of these, it can have an impact on national security. And let me put it across that we went to Oxendur from 22nd of April, when the Honorable Prime Minister announced openly that that there will be a response. We actually, our digital ecosystem went through a thorough, and there were so many attacks. And despite such severe attacks, the magnitude of the attacks was so severe, it actually impacted on financial sectors, health sector, defense, governmental sectors. But our chief information security officers, the organizations responsible like the certain, the sector regulators, all of them were so effective that let me assure you that there was not even an iota of influence on citizens. Yes, I confess that breaches may took place, defacements may took place, but I don't think any of the citizens-facing services, other than some minor issues on electricity in one state, I know, but I don't think it impacted. So the strength, robustness of our system is because of our organization structures which have come up, and I think we should give a back to all the entire the teams which are working there. How do you protect the previous speaker mentioned about the changes which are so dynamic today. The technology landscape is literally changing every day. So I also had a similar problem about VCR, what you mentioned. My video cassettes were, still, I just couldn't convert it to a digital document, so I had to convert it to a CD, write it. Now, these are the challenges we face. Now, you look at the health sector today. Now, we get our machines, the MRI, the CT scan, all of them come from outside. So, the best method, the optimum solution which we can offer to our citizens is that we have our electronics within the country. So, I'm sure all of you know that there is a lot of effort on this, right, from the chip level to every component of electronics. I think we need to make it in our country. And the digitization is not going to go with. It's only going to come and touch every aspect of our life. All of you are members of the social media platforms today. Right from childbirth to death today, from social media. Today, the power of information flow. Earlier it used to be with the electronic, the print and electronic media. Today, it's with all of us here, citizens. We can actually influence minds of our citizens, of nations today. It's happening all across the world today. So, how do we work in an ecosystem where the technology landscape empowers the citizens? So, it's only awareness on what is right and what is wrong. We need to teach right from our children. We should focus on the children academic institutions, families. Like yesterday I was attending an event in Bangalore, defense, the Digital Security Council of India. So I was mentioning to them, it's time that, like the rules of the road, there is road discipline. We teach the children that cross zebra crossings, go through the right of the road when you're walking around the roadsides, etc. It's time that we teach our children the rules of the digital highways. Now think, all of you here are going to different states. I think we need to influence children and through them make sure that the awareness spreads. Cybercrime. Now it's an aspect, it's as people, processes and technology involved. Now we need to focus on the people. We need to make them understand. I'm sure again the Honorable Prime Minister spoke about digital arrest. Now we can't have any more of it, and there are so many technology measures which we have adopted. The telecom service providers today tell through the normal ringtones which are irritating at times. I accept it. To say that cybercrime report on 1930. These are some of the measures which we had adopted. The technology landscape, AI and quantum. Now understand this that technology will keep changing. Now the strength of technology today lies in the data sets. Now 99% of the AI models which are in vogue today have the data sets mostly focused on Western ecosystems. Do we have indigenous data sets today? What the work is on? I will give you a personal example of how we collect data in our ecosystem. My name is M.U. Nair. Now, if I spell it as if I expand that U stands for only Christian, I'll be a different digital identity. And to add to that, if I go and put it on the passport, that M is my father's name, that is Madhavan. So I become a Madhavan only Christian Nair. So I become a third identity. Now, this is how scams happen in our country. So, can we now look at a digital identity to each of our citizens with a common data set or a common thing? I think a lot of work is on the UIDI, a lot of working on it. I'm sure you've done. There's a lot of judicial interventions are also on this issue. But I just thought I would throw this to all of you. Okay, the data needs to be localized. You need to help us, help the country towards this. Digital identity is something we need to work on. We need to have local data sets. It's important today. Our citizens' data has to be localized. We can't base our AI models on foreign data sets. Supply chain issues. It's time that we look at having indigenous components. I mentioned about it, a lot of effort is on. And private sector has to play a major role. This is something which we need to make sure that it happens. There is a lot of effort from the government side. All of you have NIC providing you with your government paying systems. Now, they are vulnerable. So they also themselves have adopted a private backend today. That's the way it happens. You go into the movie domain, OTT platforms, you see special ops to 0 days, so many movies on cyber attacks, etc., cyber influencing. Many of them are possible situations, but let me assure you that all this can be negated. Such a situation may not arise, but we need to use technology to the best, serving our citizens, as also providing, national security. Something which I just thought I would put it across to you. It's wonderful that I could interact with each one of you. I'll be here for a little longer. If anybody has got any issues, you can actually come back to me. I've worked very closely in this domain and I'm passionate. Last 3 days, I've been speaking to 3 different audiences on the necessity to have cybersecurity as part of our digital ecosystem in our minds be ingrained. Thank you very much. Extremely grateful to the organizers. Thank you again.